If and when the grid goes down, either by accident or by design, most modern forms of communication are going to be cut off. The methods of communication that just about everyone uses, and most take for granted, will cease to function. No cell phones, no computer, no GPS, not even landlines would likely be in operation. And any good prepper or survivalist knows that communication is vital because good intel is a major key to survival. Unfortunately, many modern preppers and survivalists don't seem to get this, particularly when it comes to GPS. I'm just saying, it stands to reason that if your cell phone goes out, that your Garmin probably isn't going to work either. Another factor to consider is that even if there isn't a total grid collapse, there exists the possibility that the government can use modern methods of communication to mislead and control the masses, since most people believe whatever they're told, no matter how far-fetched it may seem, if it appears to come from a credible source, such as the mainstream media, which is often used to mislead people even while the grid is up and fully functioning. There are a handful of alternative forms of communication that can be used to stay informed during emergencies, and I highly recommend looking into them and examining their usefulness to see if they are viable for you. So let's go ahead and get started, in no particular order. Number 1, an emergency weather radio. Probably the most obvious one on the list. This is one of those things that everybody should have for small emergency situations, and it's cheap. Another useful aspect of the emergency radio is that many of them use a crank for power, so you don't have to worry about batteries. Granted, what is broadcast on such a radio can be easily manipulated during a long-term grid down, but it's very useful during normal disasters, if you can call a disaster normal. Number 2, the CB radio. Who remembers back in the day when CB radios were all the rage? That was a lifetime ago, and for the most part CB radios have faded away, but they are not gone completely. They are still out there, and they are still in use, and they are still useful as a viable form of emergency communication, and they have become somewhat inexpensive over the years as interest has waned. Number 3, ham radios. Another form of communication that's becoming somewhat obscure in our modern era. Ham radios have the capacity to receive and broadcast over vast distances and have thousands of channels available to them. If it's within your budget to own and properly operate one of these systems, it could be invaluable during an emergency. Number 4, VHF FM marine radio. This is one that most people simply don't think of, but a VHF FM marine radio operates on different frequencies and puts you in contact with an entirely different group of individuals. They are relatively cheap, and most of them are completely waterproof for the obvious reasons. Not a toy by any means. This is absolutely an emergency radio, but even listening to the chatter could provide valuable information during a disaster or long-term grid down. And number 5, walkie-talkies. To be more specific, long-range walkie-talkies, and not the ones you bought for your kids at Christmas that don't work from the bathroom to the kitchen. Again, these are relatively cheap and can help to keep a group or individuals connected during a crisis. One thing I would recommend here is that you invest in an earpiece for your walkie. I see many preppers with a walkie-talkie that don't have an earpiece, and I would think I wouldn't have to remind you how far away that squawking can be heard when the walkie-talkie receives a signal, but I have had to bring that point up with several people. And you just knew I had one more for you, didn't you? Call it number 6 if you will. Direct contact communication. In this instance, you are the device, and it could prove to be the most viable option in many scenarios. It could be as simple as meeting in a particular spot from day to day to exchange information, or certain signs that could be left that only your group knows, or a plan of action for if someone doesn't show up or someone is missing. There are many imaginative variations here. So I hope you found this list helpful. If you have anything you would like to add to the list, feel free to post it in the comments section down below. It could be helpful to some of the viewers. It could be helpful to me. You never know. Please do give the video a thumbs up. Easiest way to show your appreciation. Share the video if you can, and subscribe if you are new. Check out some of the other videos. You may find something helpful to you. I hope that you do. If you would like to tip the channel, there are links for that down below. Every little bit helps, and I sure do appreciate it. That being said, as always, Stay frosty, folks, and thanks for watching.